Okay, let's take a second together. We're going to build a Windows 8 application that demonstrates how to make snow in your app. It's more fun than anything. There's a lot of snow outside my house today. So I'm going to use design first, even before I get into Visual Studio. I'm going to draw a little polyline here, something like maybe that. And I like using design because of the control it gives me, and I like it because it allows me to export as XAML. So I'll change that to an arc. That's because I'm sort of drawing a hill, let's say, and then I'll put another one over here, and now I've got a nice little landscape that I can kind of roll with. I'll change that also so that it is a nice little arc, and then I might even make it just a little bit taller just by grabbing it there. Oops. Just by grabbing that point and dragging it. There you go. So the back would be kind of a darker color and the light would be a slightly lighter color, because in cartoons snow is blue. So we're rolling with it. Alright, so let me put a background here. I'll use a rectangle shape, and I'll just take the default here of this gray linear gradient, which is totally okay with me. I'll just throw that to the back and I will lock it. Alright, so now, just for fun, let's keep adding. I'll add a quick ellipse here, and I'll change it so that it's white. So we'll add a quick snowman. I'll add another one right above it, and I will grab it, and that's not what I meant to do. I will grab it and make it just a little bit smaller. Okay. I'm holding down Control, but I need to be holding down Shift. That's what it is. Alright, hold down Shift and it will maintain its aspect ratio. There you go. That's a snowman if I ever saw one. Now I will, you know what, let's do one more thing while we're doing it. So if I were to grab this circle, for example, drag it right there, color it sort of a gray color, and then drop it back just one, it kind of makes a shadow. It's not perfect. It's not perfect. But I'm gonna roll with it. And then I'll throw that back just one as well. Otherwise, it's just sort of a white blob, And now, on to the small ellipses I can make here. I'll make the first one right here. I'll not color it black, but more of a, shall we say, charcoal color. And let's do that 3 times. And then let's go up to the face. And that eye is going to be a little bit big. And then another one. And then let's work on a smile here. He's a happy, kind of a smirking in a sense. Alright, last thing we'll do is I will, not that, but the polyline, doop, 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 and let's go something like that, colored in orange, and you can have a nose. Alright, so if that's not a beautiful, when I look out my window, that's exactly what I see. So obviously I lock the back, so I have to unlock it if I want to select it. Now I'll select everything, say Edit, Copy as XAML. Then I can go to Visual Studio and say File, New Project. I'll go to Windows Store, just start a blank application, and as soon as it loads up, I'll open up Main Page and wait for that designer to spin up. Now what I can do is I can drop this right inside the grid, but I want to drop it actually inside a view box so that I can let it scale for any size device that might have my app open. Alright, so there it is. Pretty nice. There's really nothing else that I want to do. As a matter of fact, that's all I want to do. And so let's go back to design, because what I'm going to need now is the snow itself. So I'm going to draw it. So we'll start by locking the background so I can draw it on something. And just give me a second here. Now, you might be thinking, that's not what a snowflake looks like. Maybe a messed up snowflake that was hit by a truck or something like that. Yeah, well, you'll be surprised how good things look when they're smaller. And I don't know how much snowflake research you've done, but it's not necessarily perfect. Alright, so I'm just teasing with you. Next thing I'll do is I'll draw some circles here, because snowflakes aren't usually it's big, maybe a little bit of a circle here, a little bit of a circle there, and then just a little bit more. And you might be thinking to yourself, jeepers, Jerry, why are you taking all this time to make it so perfect? And the answer is, you never have to apologize for excellence. And so when it comes to excellence, this snowflake defines it. Alright, so I'll select all of that business right there. A nice little thing I can do is object compound path make, and as soon as I do, it sort of pops those little guys out. See, it's pretty nice actually. If I had one more, it might actually look nicer right here, maybe even a little one right here. So now I'll just repeat that by selecting the whole thing, say object compound path make. Alright, so that's my edit copy XAML. I can go over here and say add to my project new item. I'll say it's a user control called snowflake. Very nice. I don't want anything really in here except for the snowflake, so I'll just drop it like that. And let's see. And because I want to resize it a lot, do I want to mess around with? No, I don't even care about a view box in here. Now it's really going to be small, but it's still there. It's right here. Do you see it? It's pretty. It's very, very pretty. All right. It's actually not. Well, it's fine. All right. Let's give this a name. So x name layout root, just like so. And so what this is going to do for me is make it so that I can add snowflakes to the grid, and then we'll kind of go from there. So let me do that back here. In the loaded event, I'll call snow, just like that. And then we'll put all of our logic right here in the snow. And so what we'll do is var flake equals new snowflake, like so. So now I've got my snowflake, but you know what? I want to add some, I want to make some things with it. So I want to say its horizontal alignment equals left, and its vertical alignment equals right. Now this is important because it tells me where it begins. So as I start moving it around, I have a common frame of reference. In fact, let's start moving it. We'll move it with a translate transform. So let's do this. The render transform equals new composite. I'll use a composite transformation. That way I can do all kinds of neat things to it later. And so here's my composite, and var x, that'll be its left-right position, equals 0. Var y, that'll be its top-down position. Yeah, oh, it's because I put a comma. It also equals 0. Var scale, we'll just use s, equals 0. Right? No, equals 1. That's 100% scale. And then var r equals 0. That's rotate, right? So now we'll go in and let's set all of these. So we'll say translate x equals x, translate y equals y, scale x equals s, scale y also equals s. We'll keep those uniform, that way it doesn't start looking goofy. And then the last thing is rotate r equals r, just like that. Okay, so it's all set up because I'm not moving it right here, and because I'm not scaling it or rotating it, and because I default to the top left. It should be in the corner when I say layout root .children.add flake, like so. Alright, let's just give that a shot. I'm going to change it so that it's in the simulator here, and I will say go. It'll build and deploy it for me, and there it is in the bottom left. Yeah, you have to select the correct one, as a matter of fact. Alright, but it is in the bottom left. That's sort of nice. If I were to run it again, hopefully it would be corrected now to the top left. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Alright, so now let's create a timer. So var t equals new dispatcher timer. That's what we're going to use in XAML, with an interval already set to time span of how many snowflake? We want a snowflake every. We want 10 snowflakes a second. So for milliseconds, 10 snowflakes would be every 100 milliseconds. T.tick. We don't really need to implement anything big here. Snow, just like that, and then t.start. Alright, so that will create it for us. Now another thing we're going to need, they're all going to sit on top of each other and really not look all that awesome. So let me make another, this will be we need a random. And I will seed it with the current date time ticks, which of course relates to the ticks of the CPU that's currently running. So now I can default, so X is the one that really matters here, so let's just say random, and I want to start it, next will give me the next integer that I want, which is totally fine. And so I want it anywhere between -500, so that'll start to the left a little off screen, which is totally okay for now. And I want it to go all the way over to layout root dot actual width. Remember, I didn't set width; it varies depending on the device. So I say actual width, and it goes and gets that for me. And let's just say -100. I think that'll make a little more sense. So the range of this random is going to be somewhere between 500 and the entire thing -100. That's totally fine with me. I should get 10 per second. Let's just try it. Oh, there they are. See, they're starting to fill up. Now we don't have any animation or anything like that going on, but we are starting to get quite a bit of snow. That's not very many pieces of snow, though, is it? Let's try 100 per second instead and see where that leaves us. Alright, nice. You can see it's quite random. There's some gaps there, but that's no big deal. Over time they would fill out because of the math that's involved, right? Okay, the next thing is I want to decide what the beginning rotation is. So here, I'll use random again. I don't want them all to be exactly the same at the beginning. And so I'll say random is going to be somewhere like, some will be at 0, some will be at 270, let's just say. So now that rotation will vary between that. So let's go ahead and run it. We can take a look and see they're all rotating, all on different axes as well. And I don't want to change that. It's a 0, 0 axes. That'll be really nice when I start animating their location. And so now the scale, I don't want them all to be the same size. And so I'll say some of them are going to be 0.5 and some of them are going to be 1.5. So that'll be it won't be one or the other, by the way. It will be a scale between let's say we'll have to say 1 to 15 times 0.01. So that'll correct that for us. And 0.1, I mean. So let's go ahead and see how the scales kind of change. Look, see, they're different size. We don't have any animation as far as them falling yet, but now we're creating them in a somewhat random location, somewhat random rotation, and somewhat random size. That's pretty cool. Alright, so we don't need to vary the Y, by the way. We want them all to start at the top. We don't always actually want them to start at the top. We want them to start like -100. That'll be out of sight, which is totally okay with me. And so now if I were to run it, you wouldn't see anything because they would be up and out of sight. I'll go ahead and run it anyway, just so you can see what I'm talking about. They're all there, you just don't see them yet. So I'm going to come back to this and start them up there later, just so we can keep seeing them. Actually, let's leave it, and we'll do the animation now. So var, we're going to animate x. So ax equals new double animation, just like so. And a double animation, I have to add this quick using. A double animation is going to be the x is left and right, and so it's going to move to the right. In this case, I want it to move to the right some amount greater than its current value. So that's x, and I want to add a random value. And how much do I want them to? I want them to move about 100 to the right. Some of them can move as much as 500 to the right. Either one will work for me. So that way I could say 2x. Now the speed that they run is going to be important. So let me create a quick duration. How long is it going to take for them to fall? Time span from no new here. Just this is a static from second. This is going to be cutesy, and we'll also use a random here. Anywhere between 1 second to 4 seconds, let's say. So it'll vary on how quickly they move to the right or the left. And so let's go and say duration then equals d, whatever that value is. Now the storyboard itself, in order to make this animation work, I'm going to need to use storyboard.setTarget. And so what am I going to be animating? I'm going to be animating AX is my timeline or the animation itself. And I'm going to be animating not the flake, but the flake's render transform, like so. Now there's one other thing. That is the container that I'm going to be animating, but I haven't set the property. So let's go ahead, storyboard.setPropertyName. So same syntax as before, AX, but here it's asking for which one I'm going to actually be it's going to be translate X. So I'll just copy that so I don't get it wrong. So now that translation, or that animation is fully set up. I'm going to also... Alright, so now NEXT, yes. And let's see, X instead of Y. And this is the only other one. So now those are exactly the same. Those just did a quick replace. So now Y equals, and how far down is it going to go? It's not actually a random amount. How far down is it going to go is layout. This isn't equals, by the way. No, it's alright. Equals layout root dot actual height. Alright, so now it will be 100 above. And so what I wanted to do is go 100 below. So I add 100, that takes away that initial offset, and then I'll add another 100. So I could have added 200, but I wanted to make it especially clear that this is how it's going to go. Let's see, I'll go like that. And it is, what's complaining about? It needs to be an integer. Can I do it right here? Do I need to do it inside? No, that's good. Alright, so now you can see I've got this new animation animating Y to Y, which is this value, and at the same amount of time, and then it just sets it up properly right there. Alright, so now I need to animate those two things. The next thing I want to animate that rotation. So let's keep going, right? I like this. Let's animate the rotation. So now it is amazingly similar to this, so I am just going to say every time I see a Y, change it to an R. Let's see what that does. Alright, so that totally messes up. Layout root totally messes up. Store eBoard, and I think everything might be good otherwise. Property. And now the property I'll be changing is ROTATION. And how much do I want it to rotate? Well, the reality is this is going to be random. Anywhere between, let's say, 90 and 360. So it could rotate a little, or it could rotate a lot. So it's just up to the random number to generate it. So what's going to happen? It's going to move from left to right, anywhere between 100 and 500 units over. Then it's going to go down the entire width of the page, and then it's going to go. Then it's going to rotate while it's doing it, and the whole time it'll be a variable or a random amount of time, anywhere between 1 and 4 seconds. So let's set up the storyboard now. So var s equals new storyboard, just like so. And a storyboard has children, has var s equals new storyboard. S dot, did I clash with another s as for scale? Yeah, so no problem. Story, no problem. Story.children, add, and now we add AX, AY, and AR. AX is animation of the X, animation of the Y, or translate Y, animation of rotation, and storyboard.begin is all I need to start it. Now, one nice little advanced thing I can do to make sure things don't go crazy is to say story.completed. Alright, so this is the event handler for when the storyboard is completed. Every time this is run, I add a new snowflake, which is beautiful, except it's off screen when it comes to life, so I animate it on. And then it animates all the way off screen. And what am I going to do to what am I going to do to make sure that memory isn't consumed and going crazy? What I'm going to do is just say layout root .children.remove flake, right? So as soon as the animation is done, it should be off screen anyway. Now I can just remove it, and I can allow garbage collection on its next cycle to just pick that up, and it'll keep my application from just endlessly growing in size. Let's see what this looks like. It should do everything at one go here too. All right, there they are. Some are going nice and fast. Some are going relatively slow. Now, you might see a little bit of jitter. That's the way it is inside the simulator. And if I were to show this full screen, in fact, let me show you full screen, then you'll see it's smooth. See how perfectly smooth it is full screen, and it has a really nice really nice feel to it, and it's really, really cool. Starts off the screen, comes out of nowhere. Remember, some of them started farther to the left, so they kind of come in this bottom left corner, and they fall, they rotate, and because I left the rotation center of origin at 0, 0, sort of has a kind of a floppy feel to it as it falls. Some are fast, some are slow. It's really cool. Really, really cool. All right. Well, the next thing that I think I should at least point out is I'll do it here in the loaded just so you can see what it looks like. You've got this app.current as I do, and I can say debug settings .enable frame rate counter equals true. If I were to run this now, that would automatically run. You can see there's 4 numbers, 2 on the left and 2 on the right. The 2 on the right show my system frame rate, so that's the maximum frame rate my system is able to provide me. And then you can see over at the left I can see the frame rate that I'm getting inside my application. And of course there's a little bit of fuzziness here, you can tell because they're off by 1 or 2, but nonetheless I'm getting right around 50 frames per second. 60 is absolutely perfect. 50 is not all that bad, and when I look at this, it isn't bad either. I might feel like this is the right amount of snow, maybe a little bit less so when I go to an ARM device or something like that. And but overall, this mini sprites just being animated down across a grid, not bad, and kind of gives you a nice feel. You can think you could do this with a little bit of rain, with snow, and add a little fun and ambiance to your application. Easy enough? I hope so. Best of luck.